I was just reading something interesting at Silver Doctors. I have a slightly different ending view than they do. Not to say that they can't be right. I just think it'll end a little differently. Uh, he says force majeure was the end game all along. The COMEX will default in the next week or weeks. The COMEX will default in the next week or several weeks, and people will be settled with dollars. No more metal will be delivered. So knowing that game over has arrived, they are dumping a massive volume of paper contracts with impunity to push the metal prices down as low as possible before the default. This way, the shorts do not have to and will not be covered when supply cannot be obtained because of an act of God has occurred. They will be settled in cash, at a profit no less, because these unforeseen disruptions in supply, who could have seen it coming, will be the mantra. I would suspect that banking stress and bail-ins will also become prevalent globally. The price structure will now push any and all physical sellers away from the markets, and the door to safety is effectively being shut. Either you own the metal in your hands or you don't. After the closure of the COMEX and the LBMA doors, there will be no availability and price will be meaningless. Your ability to protect yourself is right now, for all intents and purposes, being eliminated. So you better hurry and get your precious metals in your possession. Here's something interesting that I didn't actually know yet. A while back, I did a video because I knew there was an issue with, I think, Barrick gold mine. There's a big mining company. I guess they're called Barrick Resources. And I know there was a dispute where they had this huge mine coming online of which country it was bordering, and they said it was this close to an iceberg that's like protected water for the locals, and no, it's not. Yes, it is. And I said, I can't wait to see how that ends, because this whole thing may be shut off. This mine that they're anticipating having this massive amount of gold and silver pulled from it. I think that's what this is. And he says, last week, Barrick Resources announced the postponement of the giant Pascua Lama mine. This was to be one of the world's largest mines and is now tied up in litigation over true ownership, as it appears to show that Barrick does not have clear title. The probable reserves were nearly 18 million ounces of gold and almost 700 million ounces of silver. Work on this mine was completely stopped last Wednesday. That's funny. Wasn't it 2 days later that the waterfall smash of gold and silver occurred? And Wednesday and Thursday, 10% of COMEX inventories were being cleaned out? Interesting. Also, as he mentions, last Wednesday, I mentioned this the other day, the Kennecott copper mine in Utah, the ground has basically had a landslide, I guess you could say, and the entire mine is shut down. So he goes on to talk about this and says that what I basically read you the first part about how the COMEX is going to shut its doors, they'll be done, they'll be finished. It could happen. However, I thought to myself, they have to set the price. They have to have a mechanism to set the price of precious metals, because they cannot, under any circumstances, have a competing currency against their paper fiat money. Just like I said it about Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin proceeded to get smashed. And by the way, speaking of Bitcoin and what I told you would happen to that, let me just sidetrack for a second. Bitcoin, whoops. Wonder where all Bitcoin's at. Because it was down to like 50, I think I swore it was like 59 or 57 or something like that. What did it say? It doesn't give me a price. Forget it. I don't have time for weighted average. 64, 50, $50 low. 64. Whatever. I told you to stay away from Bitcoin. They will not allow a competing currency ever if they can help it. So if the COMEX inventories, as he says, they had to get rid of these shorts massively because it's fixing the default. My view that differs from theirs is this. I don't think they'll close and default the LBMA or the COMEX. If they do, as he said, there'll be an unexpected event, whether it's Iran hacked into the COMEX and destroyed the COMEX, or an earthquake hit and the COMEX is down, or a terrorist attack, the freaking Chicago COMEX, the whole 9 yards, Wall Street, everything went down. That's how that would go if they're really going to destroy it. But I think they'll do something a lot easier. Possibly, it's just my opinion here. And that is, they'll just come make an announcement. Oh, breaking news. Attention all paper contract holders. Effective such and such date. In other words, like tomorrow or the end of the week. It'll probably be more or less not like the end of the week. It'll be like taking effect now in 5 seconds from now. You can no longer demand delivery on physical gold and or silver. No longer. You must settle in paper. They can do it. They are masters of changing the rules mid-game. They don't need to default. They don't need to close the doors. All they have to do is issue a statement. We are no longer settling in gold and silver, physical deliveries. You can only settle via paper. That, if they did it that way, would still allow them to control the price, at least in their minds. But I don't think the rest of the world is going to pay attention to that too much longer when they realize, as right now, gold and silver is running out. This massive world's largest mine is on hold now. Can't mine there. Oh, this other one that gave 16% of silver production per year in America. Oh, the landslide occurred. They're done. They don't have the metals. They don't have the metal. How do they deal with it? There's only one thing they can do. Sure, they could default. They could let the COMEX and LBMA default. I don't think they'll do that. I believe they will come out with a statement just simply saying you can no longer demand delivery. Done. Sue us. Whatever. Done. So, naturally, as I always say, double-edged sword. People are going to say, well, these bullion dealers and everyone else needs the silver. Where can they get it? Like last resort, we could easily go to the COMEX, the market, and just, we don't want to play a futures contract. We want the full thing. Just give us the silver. We need to mint some coins over here for our, dealers. They won't even be able to do that. That means nobody will be able to go onto the COMEX and demand delivery. Therefore, there's going to be a shortage of gold and silver. And while that shortage is taking effect, they'll still be trying to set the price via the COMEX, as if, hey, trust us. This is where the price needs to be. Even though you can't get any, we won't sell it anymore. We won't allow deliveries anymore. Still let us set the price of silver. That sounds good, doesn't it? There is going to be a disconnect like you can't believe. There will be some other exchange set up in a hurry to facilitate people who want to buy and sell physical and nothing but physical silver. I remember hearing Andrew Maguire come out a while back saying that he was in the works with some group of people, whatever, to put up an exchange, a precious metals exchange. And he said, quote, roughly from what I remember, we plan on sucking the volume of transactions on the COMEX. We plan on sucking the volume right out of there like a vacuum cleaner and right into our market when we get it set up. Couldn't give us a time. It's in the works. This was a while ago. I'm hoping it's getting ready or it's there, and they're fixing to flip the switch, because right now would be the prime time to do it. And it is a metals-only, physical metals-only market, from what I remember him saying, if I recall. And this was a while ago, so I'm pretty sure that's how it went down. And then the LBMA and the COMEX can set the paper price all day long. You will have people on that exchange saying, no, this is what I want for my silver. We're not even looking at the price on the COMEX. I don't even know what that is anymore. What are you talking about, the price of silver? I don't even know what you're talking about. That's nonsense. That's how I think this could go down. but I don't think they'll default at the COMEX. I do believe they will immediately issue a statement, no longer physical deliveries, done, till further notice, due to computer glitch. The tracking system's down. We got hacked. Something happened. The hard drive crashed. We thought we had backup. Some nonsense. Terrorist attack. Whatever. And that's why we can't allow deliveries. We have the gold, but we can't do it. We can't help you with the transaction because the computers are down. Gosh, of all timing, right now it just had to happen. I know, coincidence, right? So stay tuned. As I said, they pressed the go button. They have now pressed the go button. It's fixing to get really exciting over here in America. Maybe not in a good way for a lot of people, but nonetheless, the go button has been pressed.